Carlos Rodon signs with the Yankees on a 6-year, $162 million deal, which averages out to $27 million per year. He was formerly of the Chicago White Sox and of the Giants last year. And yeah, Chef, what do you think about the deal?
Liam, I think it's a great deal. The White Sox get Benintendi. We get Carlos Rodon. We get a guy who has a sub-3 ERA. He's 6'3". He just turned 30. Big lefty arm. And I think he's going to slot, I would assume, presumably, would slot right into the 2 spot in the Yankee rotation behind Gerrit Cole.
Yeah.
Things that jump out to me, Liam. I'm not a big WAR guy. I don't usually look at WAR, but he's 14-8, had a 2.88 ERA, a sub-3. He started 31 games, and the thing that really jumps out to me, Liam, 178 innings pitched last year. You love the health. You love that he's able to get on the field. Now, I think it's a great signing. How do you feel about it, Liam?
Yeah, I feel great too. And ultimately, I view everything with the Yankees, especially how talented this team is, through the prism of what the postseason looks like. Because I think this Yankees team without him should get to the postseason still pretty comfortably, at least as a wild card team. But if you look at our 3 postseason wins last year, 2 of them were Gerrit Cole starts, our number 1. And one of them was a gritty Nestor Cortez performance in a game 5 at home with inoptimal conditions for the Guardians. We were there. It was awesome energy in the stadium. Nestor was on short rest and he gave us like 5 innings solid, which was an awesome performance by him. But for you to double down on at the high end, Rodon has Gerrit Cole potential. He doesn't have quite the consistency in his career that Cole has, but he's still a number 1 for a lot of teams in baseball. So to have him as your number 2, he's a number 1 level option. Like you said, he's been an innings eater the last 2 years, even with a slight injury at the end of 2021. So to have a guy that consistently can give you 6 to 8 innings, that's going to be a really important piece. And you mentioned the ERA. So there's another statistic, which it's debated how it's calculated, but it's called FIP, fielding independent pitching, which is basically an advanced stat that predicts what your ERA would be if it weren't for your fielders and if it weren't for your park factor. It takes like the average park factor. And Rodon led MLB in FIP last year, including Sandy Alcantara, who won the Cy Young in the NL, as well as Justin Verlander in the AL. So his ERA was below 3. His FIP was at 2.28, I think. What was it? FIP 2.25. So that is taking him out of the Giants' defensive fielding, who the Giants were a really bad defensive team last year, and the Yankees were the best in the American League. So maybe that goes up, but also we have to consider the park factor as well.
Correct, Liam. That is my. It's not even like a knock on Rodon. It's just a concern in general when you go and pitch at Yankee Stadium. It's a blessing and a curse. Lefties want to hit at Yankee Stadium. The opposite field hitters like DJ LeMahieu really takes advantage of the short porch in right field. So that's a concern for me because Gerrit Cole, one of the best in baseball, his ERA was a 3.5. And his kryptonite pretty much was the home run ball. That short porch in right field really killed Gerrit Cole. Now, Liam, we were talking about some numbers. In Rodon last year, when he pitched, had a fly ball rate of a 45%. And it's a concern to a degree just because of the short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium. People like to hit in the Bronx. So it's a concern that you might see a slight increase in his ERA due to the home run potential of pitching at Yankee Stadium. But on the flip side of that, the Yankees have a lefty starter already in their rotation who, over the course of the year, Nestor Cortez had the lowest ERA of all the Yankee starters, under a 2.5. So when you think of a lefty pitcher, I'm using him as my reference for a positive potential. Maybe Rodon can keep it in the ballpark. Maybe he can have like a Nestor Cortez kind of season on that left, big lefty throwing the ball. Nestor is a different type of pitcher, is a little more finesse, doesn't quite have like that 95 mile an hour fastball. But I mean, what really it's the innings pitched. The fact that his FIP, the fact that that's a 2.25 and he pitched 178 innings with a defense behind him that wasn't strong in the MLB by really any measures. It's encouraging to see, and especially and I think the Yankees probably got him for a little less than the value that we were expecting him to get.
Yeah, I agree. Jake and I had him down. I'm just looking at the pitching market and the free agent market in general. We had him down at 6 years, 30 million a year, which would have been 180. So about a $20 million discount is not too bad. And one thing that we mentioned in the last episode too, we're looking at the other pitching options like Manaea, Stripling on the free agent market. And Chef, you did a look before the episode at some of the free agents out there who are some pretty elder statesmen of the game, we'll say, to be nice.
They're all so old. I'm being dramatic.
Yeah, so I think Ross Stripling ended up going to the Giants for a shorter deal, a 3-year deal, I think 21 million a year. I think Rodon is better than it's more than $6 million better than Ross Stripling. And I think the Yankees did the good job of getting the premier pitcher, the ace on the market, because the value that he brings, the Giants need pitching and innings. The Yankees need playoff wins. And I think that that higher value for Rodon is going to be well worth it for the Yankees. And ultimately, we're going to have injuries, but we have a really good starting five right now of Cole, Rodon, Nestor, Sevy, and Montas. 4 of those with the only one who's not in this next category, which I have to say first, they're all number ones. They all have been number ones in the last 4 years on a team. And Sevy's had injuries. Montas had a down year with the Yankees. But Cole and Rodon have shown in recent memory being Cy Young level potential, and Montas has always had that in him, being potential. He's been top 5 in the past with Oakland. So that's a really deep starting pitching lineup, and I love that signing for the Yankees.
Agreed. I'm a little bit of a believer of let me see it first before I buy in, because we've seen in the past, it's a small sample size with Montas, but some people, Liam, come to the Bronx and the lights are really bright in the Bronx. Like, we expect to win. We expect to go to the postseason. We expect to win championships. And sometimes the numbers don't translate. Montas, this is just with the Yankees, in his 8 starts had over a 6. Those aren't the numbers that he had in Oakland. We got him from Oakland expecting him to honestly pitch better. We did. Granted, things happened. He came mid-season. There's a lot of doom and gloom when he came over to the Yankees. They weren't winning in August. They had a rough out of the All-Star break. So it wasn't the perfect situation, but Sonny Gray. Oh, everybody was so excited about the Sonny Gray deal a few years ago, and he didn't put up the numbers that we expected. So, I mean, Rodon on paper for the Yankees, it looks great. I'm excited, and I think the Yankee Nation should be happy. I want to see it first. I want to see what we get. I want to see if we can get those 170 innings out of him.
And a lot of fans have that mindset, because I think Rodon, he shows a lot of energy and fire on the mound. So I think if he gets off to a successful start, like first few months with the Yankees, we're going to love him. Yankees fans are really going to love him. After big strikeouts, he shows a lot of energy. He pumps his fist. His wife is big on Twitter. When he got snubbed from the All-Star game at first last year, despite being a top 3 pitcher in the NL, his wife went out to Twitter and was like, "What the hell? Who's picking this? Like, we deserve it." And he's like, and he doesn't shy away from it. He's like, "Yeah, no, I'm a winner. I'm a good pitcher." He was on R2C2, which is the podcast hosted by Ryan Rucco and CC Sabathia last year after he signed. And CC was like, "Damn, man, like, I think you would have been a good fit in New York. Like, I could see you kind of having similar energy to me, you know?" And Rodon kind of alluded to, he only had a 1-year deal with San Francisco with an opt-out. He kind of alluded to, like, "Oh, like, I could see myself face shaven. You know, I like Judge. Judge is pretty cool." So I don't think we get Rodon if we don't retain Judge. That's
a great point, and it's not just baseball either. People want to go play with people. You look at the other league. These big names go places, and people go and follow them.
Yeah,
people go and follow them, and then when people get those deals and they're solidified to their team for long periods of time, I think you guys know what I'm alluding to at this point. You're going to see people follow them, and you're going to see these big signings, and you're going to see big names on the move.
Yeah, and I think the pressure of New York is a lot more alluring when you have the best offensive player in baseball there.
Because the people watching, they're going to let you know. They're going to let you know if you're not performing.